初出動での機体の調子はどうかね、アレックス。
はい、問題ありません。
よし。
Good day everyone, Briareos Karensky here. Do you know when you don't even remember a game you pre-ordered, and when it arrives you expect it to be average, and then it turns into a frigging good game? That's Ginga Force, mostly vertical shoot-em-up by Qt, a small company that already produced Eschatos, already available on the X360, and a few other vertical shooters. I knew of Eschatos' existence, but never really bothered with it, and that is a mistake. After playing Ginga Force, I really want to know how it plays. But we are here for Ginga Force, so let's focus on it. The first impact is not extremely good. The character design is not particularly refined, and the graphics are very clean, but almost sterile, and sometimes confusing. Not much, but everything moves fast, and despite the low level of detail, backgrounds tend to blend with themselves and the foreground objects a bit too much. Then there's the weapon system that I still can't fully understand. Not the way it works, that is clear enough, but why it has been thought that way. One thing at a time. On the lower right corner there are two gauges and a circular indicator along with three icons. The red gauge is for the main weapon and is constantly drained even without shooting. The green gauge is for the secondary weapon and it's only depleted when firing. The circular indicator is for special weapons and indicates either how long a weapon needs to charge or how much long it can work. The three icons represent three equipped items. Now, the weapon gauges are replenished by collecting blue cubes, dropped by destroyed enemies. There are segments, like before a boss, where there are no enemies, and you see the main weapon gauge constantly dropping without being able to do anything. In the first stages, or until you get a particular item, this could mean that you are left with only a marginally effective weapon to deal with incoming enemies. Both main and secondary weapons will continue to fire even when their gauges are empty, but in the beginning I found myself sacrificing a life to replening the gauges. As stages progress, the number of enemies increases and keeping the gauges full won't be a problem, also because progressing unlocks weapons and items that help reducing gauge draining, so in the end you don't care about it and this whole mechanic feels almost superfluous. I can see what the developers were trying to do, but in the end it weighs very little on how the game plays at later levels or higher difficulty settings, and it's more of a barrier for beginners. Not a huge barrier, but something it's difficult to understand why it works like that. And then the starting weapons and equipment feel underpowered even when speaking about the first stage at normal difficulty. Don't get me wrong, beating the first stage with the starting weapons is perfectly doable, but there are no power-ups in Ginga Force, and there are a lot of time events to complete for getting the best rank, so the impression of being undergunned is strong. It's almost as the developers wanted everyone to first play in easy mode, unlock a couple of weapons, get used to the game, and then go for normal mode. It's not completely wrong, but it does feel strange at first. When you get past this first impression, however, the game opens up and becomes pretty good. First, it's impossible not to notice the variety of tasks and situations offered by the 10 stages. There are segments where you have to dodge incoming traffic, disable but not destroy security drones, boss rushes, bullet hells, segments where the camera shifts perspective. Everything is so dynamic that it's simply not possible to get bored with the game. That offers a good level of challenge even in easy mode, though the difficulty curve is a bit out of place, with some levels being incredibly easy compared to their predecessors and what comes next. Anyway, Ginga Force does not limit itself to a standard vertical shot-em-up template and tries something new at every level, and it does wrong in very few occasions. When the camera shifts from a top-down perspective, it's sometimes difficult to judge where the ship can go to avoid bullets, and, as said before, there are cases when the screen is not perfectly readable due to the amount of graphical assets present and how they work together. Ginga Force is an extremely fair shot-em-up that won't drive you crazy for cheap shots. There is some degree of pattern memorization and trial and error, but it's nothing new in the genre. One other big aspect of the game is the ship customization. It's possible to choose the primary, the secondary and special weapons, along with 3 items, engine type and the ship's color. While primary and secondary weapons range between the usual selection of narrow laser beams, spreaders, homing missiles and sideway guns, the items are much more varied in their nature and tie directly into the game system. You can equip extra lives, generators to decrease gauge depletion, to increase special weapon usage, or auto-collection for credits and blue cubes. Special weapons vary as well, including shields, bombs and time slowdowns. The engine is pretty straightforward, it indicates how fast the ship maneuvers, and some of them have up to 3 speed settings for further tweaking the ship as needed. The amount of unlockables is constant throughout the game, though some rewards are a bit strange, like a color scheme for beating level 10 in easy mode when the previous stage gave weapons. Also, these items must be purchased with the acquired credits, and there is a little bit of grinding involved to get enough credits to buy weapons. The whole upgrade customization system works extremely well, and the various stages do promote messing up with the various weapons and systems, even if it's just for fun and not for the simple scope of passing the level. The importance of this system is further refined by the ability to easily reconfigure the ship before each level, which unfortunately are unlinked, and each new one resets score and life status. The game offers 10 stages, plus 2 bonus training stages and score attack mode with online leaderboards. These last 3 modes do not give full access to parts, but only allow for 3 preset ships. Ginga Force offers a lot, and thanks to how good the game is, there is a lot of incentive to continue playing. As said before, though, the technical aspect is not perfectly developed. All stages open and close with a rather long cutscene to advance the story, but this sorta breaks the flow of the game. The exposition is good enough to introduce to the main elements of the game's universe without browsing through the game's gallery, but the cutscenes always feel way too long-winded for their own good. Character interaction is not limited to cutscenes, and in essentially all stages there is constant radio communication between the main characters and the local villain, which does add some personality to the game, but completely overshadows music and sound effects. It's possible to disable voices and turn on subtitles, but reading while playing later stages is impossible. The first sprint run includes a soundtrack, and this is the only way I could listen to the background music, which is not really something to speak about. Something that Ginga Force gets alright about sound is that effects, music and voices are not set at the same level, and there's actually no reason to tweak sound levels. This is a big thing. Way too many games pump all their sound to maximum and won't let you appreciate any of it due to this, and, well, I'm very glad that Ginga Force does not fall in this trap. Despite being a bit unpolished, graphics do have their charm after a while. A great deal of detail went into the main ship and all its armaments, though to keep the frame rate constant, the rest only use few polygons with simple textures. The character design is a bit uneven, and it's probably the less developed aspect of the game. The interface is very sleek and easy to navigate, and the only problem is that you cannot cycle weapon lists when reaching their top or bottom. All menus are in English, and with a bit of a trial and error it's possible to figure out what every item or special weapon does, so the game is definitely import friendly, and it is region free as well. Prices might be an issue, but Ginga Force is very well worth the money it costs, so I can only recommend it to buy if you get the chance. You won't be disappointed. Briareos Kerensky, over and out.
なかなかいいんじゃないの？